This week going to be focusing a lot on the budget. We won't ignore that, that's for sure. Joining me on the desk now is Paul Murray, getting ready for another bumper show at 9 o'clock, mate. Look, I reckon all your concerns, all your nightly pushing of the agenda, I reckon it's all going to pay dividends tomorrow because the PM says he's going to fix all our cost of living problems.
I feel like
you'll get what you need.
The kid before Christmas, the super fan before the grand final, the movie fan who can't wait for the end of the trilogy, because it's all going to end up roses, right? Like, the size and the scope of cost of living as a problem is one where literally you can fill a television show with it every night for 2 years, okay? Yet their response is that the average tax, but not all, the average taxpayer, best case scenario, a little bit here, a little bit there, it's like $39 a week. Now, while I'm not going to poo-poo $39 a week, but anyone who actually thinks that changes the bar on 12 interest rate rises, on the cost of petrol, on the cost of all the things that have gone up, well, they're kidding themselves, or they live in a bubble where, like the Treasurer does, your car's paid for by the taxpayer, your fuel card's paid for by the taxpayer, and everything else is okay because you earn more than 300 grand.
Yeah, you got to bumper salaries. This is the thing, right? The electricity prices, instead of going backwards by 275, have gone up on average by about 500. Fuel prices through the roof, over $2 a litre we're paying usually when you fill up the car. All those interest rate rises, thousands of dollars, we're all paying more on our mortgages, and yet they think they can just throw some more money at it in a budget and we'll say thanks. And they tinker with the coalition's tax cuts and they try and get credit for that.
Well, and again, what I found, what both of us found, what most people watching us right now found egregious about the 22 election was that every single problem was personal and related back to the Prime Minister of the day. That, you know, when petrol went up to $1.85, there was a need to change the system, said Albo. It now goes over $2. They say nothing. They do nothing. So I think that there's a significant number of people that are always winnable by a government on what they hand out and what they change. But those people also can't be fooled about their circumstances. And no one will be fooled by whatever speech, whatever spin, however they times it by 10 years or multiply by the 52 weeks of the year. The truth is that any objective understanding, when you talk to somebody who isn't even engaged in politics, if you said, I'll give you $40, what would you say? Oh, thank you. But it's not like, you know, you've won 100 grand on a radio contest. It's not like you've won $1 million by climbing that bloody mountain they do on Channel 9.
Who's better off now than they were when Labor got elected when it comes to cost of living? Public servants, and more of them, getting paid more, working from home, most of them.
Literally. Literally, they got their biggest pay rise in 10 years. The MP's got their biggest pay rise in 10 years. Sorry.
And he says that he's going to break interest rates 6 months to a year earlier, break inflation than the Reserve Bank. Now, one of them's got to be wrong. And it just leads me to the sneaky suspicion that they might want to run to the polls before the end of this year, before things really go pear-shaped.
I agree. I mean, once it became clear to me that they could have an election from August on, and again, only the Prime Minister knows, only the Prime Minister makes a decision, but everyone else just watching what's going on. One of the reasons why they've basically got 6 months of chat out of the too little too late tax cuts, right, is to build it all up and then the money starts flowing. But also what's going to start flowing, and I've already heard a few ads, is $40 million of taxpayers' money on advertising about how good they are. So if you're able to get taxpayers' advertising plus maybe a hand-picked Reserve Bank that will drop it by 1/4%. But the reality is the Reserve Bank as it currently sits now, the total increases in your home loans that you've had to pay since this mob came to power, even in 2026, best case scenario, you'll be paying 75% of what you currently are now. Oh, great, it's less than the all-time high, but the python is still around your neck. You just blue, not purple.
Oh, I think it's going to get ugly. We'll see what bells and whistles they have tomorrow. We'll see what bells and whistles you got at 9 o'clock, mate.
Thanks,
see
mate.
you then.
Love you.
Paul Murray.